Good afternoon. This is Dominic with TheBackVlog. I recently finished Jean-Paul Sartre's No Exit, as well as 3 other plays written by him. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correct. I should have looked up his name pronunciation before I started this, but Jean-Paul Sartre is an existentialist philosopher who began his career writing philosophy and everything, but I guess around the mid 30s or so, basically around World War II time. Well, I guess a little after World War II, he was interested in playwriting. Having read this book, I did some research about him, and it was really interesting, kind of like to keep his political background in mind when reading, especially one of the plays in here. But I'll get to that in a bit. No Exit is his most popular one. It is built on the idea that hell is other people, and it's like a very comedic. I think it's comedic anyway. It's like a comedic kind of like one-act play about 3 people, 3 strangers to each other, who basically are just going to drive each other mad for the rest of eternity, with nothing else to do. I think it's really interesting. I don't really have much to say about it just because I didn't really connect with it too much. But I am glad I read it. The next play in here is The Flies, which in the book is, it gives you the French titles. So The Flies is Les Mouches. I don't know. I could be pronouncing it wrong. When I was reading about Jean-Paul Sartre on Wikipedia, they were talking about, or it was saying something about, it was talking about Les Mouches, but it didn't translate to The Flies. It was talking about like the messengers. But what they are basically were, because Jean-Paul Sartre was a revolutionary during World War II and Germany's occupation of France. A mooch was basically an informer, kind of like a spy, sent by the Germans, like kind of like posing as a revolutionary to get, information. So I thought that was a really interesting parallel to the title of The Flies. I don't really know. I mean, I guess I can kind of see how that idea kind of plays into the idea of The Flies, because it's a rendition of the Electra Greek myth, which I have not read. It's written by Aeschylus, I think. Aeschylus has the Electra myth that's about her and her brother kind of taking revenge for the murder of her father, and kind of, I guess, the emotional and moral toll that takes on her. This is kind of, I don't really know how much the Aeschylus play follows Electra, but this follows more, what is his name? Orestes, I think. This follows Orestes, and the flies in here are kind of the pawns of Zeus. Generally Zeus is like the god of thunder and everything, but in here he's like the god of the flies, basically the god of chaos. And the flies are kind of really, obviously they're disgusting. I would imagine they're just like people like dressed in black, but they're just really benign, and they follow the regrets of the townspeople like a plague. And I'm guessing that them following and kind of being the eye of Zeus is kind of in reference to what Jean-Paul Sartre was getting at with the title of this play. So I thought that was really interesting, a really interesting parallel to my Wikipedia reading of him. It also dives into the idea of freedom and destiny, because one of the things about existentialist philosophy is being free as a person, and finding your purpose in life despite the fact that your mortality is inevitable. And what I have written here is that to be free is to be oneself and not to be destined to be enslaved by gods or to be enslaved to responsibility. And to basically just I guess, seize the day, for lack of a better word. And I thought that was really interesting. Now we come to the third play, which is Dirty Hands, which, given Jean-Paul Sartre's heavy background in being a revolutionary during the German occupation, as well as being a newspaper writer for a revolutionary paper, he takes a lot of that anger and passion that he must have been feeling into the main character of Dirty Hands. You can really feel the blood boiling of Jean-Paul Sartre. Hugo in Dirty Hands is he's such a passionate free thinker, and he sets himself up to be an assassin for a political figure. After he gets his opportunity to, he finds himself that he can't do it, which I guess is probably like an internal conflict that I assume Jean-Paul Sartre himself felt, because being an intellectual, as they put it in Dirty Hands, you get a lot of ideas. Whenever push comes to shove, it's really a question of, can I really commit to something, something inalterably life-changing. And it's really interesting whenever the conclusion does happen and he follows through with what he set out to do. There's a really interesting question that he's asking himself, because, given all the events of everything that's happening, he sees his target kind of having a romantic fling with his wife. And he begins to question if his reason was, political or personal. And it's also kind of internal conflict that he has, because the reason that he's sent out to do the bidding is because the party that he's associated with is in direct conflict with him. But despite having ideological differences, the way that this guy conducts himself, I can't really pronounce his name, so I'm not even gonna, among all the things I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of, his name would be the worst, so I'm not even gonna bother trying to say it. But just like his mannerisms and like his passion for what he believes in, Hugo truly admires, despite disagreeing with his ideological mindset. That's another thing that he really finds difficulty with, in terms of killing him. And whenever the conclusion comes around and it's revealed that the party is just gonna go with what the dude was trying to do anyway, that Hugo ideologically disagreed with, they wanted to try to make him a martyr and everything. I think I could be completely wrong about that, because it does go against his ideals and beliefs. It's another question of kind of like Orestes in The Flies, like, can I really just sit here and take this from the people who I associate with, or can I really stand my ground and die for what I believe in? And I don't know, I thought that was really interesting. I thought that was really powerful and really thought-provoking. As for The Respectful Prostitute, I read that one pretty quickly. I wasn't a big fan of that one. I really don't have much to say about it. I don't know why it's called The Respectful Prostitute, because it's more, she's not really respectful, and if anything, she's more complicit, and I don't really want to talk about The Respectful Prostitute. I have nothing to say about it. I'm not a big fan of it. And I don't know. I feel like I'm out of my league when I'm talking about something that isn't video games or anime, but I am genuinely trying, and I think there's a lot to learn when it comes to philosophy and everything, and the ways that philosophy can be expressed through narrative. What I do appreciate, what I do appreciate about this book is the fantastic variety of plays that are in here. I don't know if this is his entire over or what, but I am really excited to read some of his actual academic philosophical writings one of these days. I don't think I own any of them though, so perhaps that'll be further down the line. But yeah, that being said, that was Jean or Jean-Paul Sartre's No Exit, and The Flies, and Dirty Hands, and not really The Respectful Prostitute, because I didn't really talk about that. But yeah.